The horror genre has it all. Suspense, an immersive atmosphere, misdirection, stressfully finite resources, eerie calmness suddenly penetrated by a shrieking jump scare, all culminating in a strangely satisfying feeling of triumph. For the same reason that people torture themselves playing difficult games in pursuit of that sweet triumph payoff, so too do we play horror games. Although the difficulty here is managing to get through the game without dissolving into a crying mess. Across the past decade, there have been countless moments in great horror games that have stood out as qualifying for the scariest of all time. Whatever the reason, every single one will stick in your mind for years afterwards. These are the games that followed you home and stood over your bed, watching you sleep. I'm Rach, this is WhatCulture Gaming, and these are the 8 scariest video game moments that made you turn the console off. Number 8. Detention. Hold your breath. The opening couple of levels of the Taiwanese indie Detention are just about as atmospheric and horrifying as side-scrolling horror can get. After violently losing our first playable character, players take control of Rei, a lonely and terrified schoolgirl who wakes up inside a school full of monsters. The deeper you explore the cursed nightmare building, the worse the monsters get. The initial few creatures are easily distracted with food, but it's when you first meet the lantern-wielding Lingard Spectre that you will clutch your controller tight with fear. Why? Because you're transported into Rei's body yourself and you share in every terrified heartbeat. Lantern spectres are very tall, thin ghosts that suddenly appear, accompanied with a fearful gasp from Rei. You'll have to hold your breath and stand extremely still until they have passed you. In a game where holding your breath saves you from the terrors stalking the school, it's easy to become so immersed that you'll soon feel your own lungs bursting from exhaustion. Number 7. SCP Containment Breach. SCP-173. SCP Containment Breach is an indie supernatural horror game based on the fictional stories of the SCP Foundation website. You play as a test subject forced to escape the facility after a massive containment breach has resulted in various highly dangerous anomalies running amok. Pursuing you throughout the procedurally generated hallways are monsters such as SCP-106, a decaying old man that can travel through matter, and SCP-096, a docile creature until anyone sees its face, and then it will relentlessly pursue and kill them. While these alone sound bad enough, it is the giant, motionless peanut itself, SCP-173, that will have you noping out of this game faster than you can blink. 173 has the ability to move incredibly fast while no one is looking at it, and it will not hesitate to immediately snap your neck if it manages to get a hold of you. You will need to control your blinking and keep your gaze fixed on SCP-173 at all times, no matter how much it stings your eyes. Similarly to Detention, our playable characters being deprived of essential body functions adds a whole new level of stress on top of an already terrifying experience. And SCP-173 will have your poor, hydration-starved eyeballs watering in no time. Number 6. F.E.A.R. ALMA'S Ladder. As if F.E.A.R. wasn't already tense enough, it contains a scene that had us all scrambling to pick up all the pieces of our shattered dignity that has just scattered across the room. You see, creepy little Alma will take full advantage of any opportunity to terrify you. In one instance, you approach a seemingly normal ladder and turn around to descend downwards. However, just as you're about to lose sight of the floor above you, you'll catch a sudden glimpse of Alma, who can certainly sense your real-life shock as she giggles at you. As if that wasn't bad enough, if you manage to get over that initial shock, as you get to the bottom of the ladder and turn around, she suddenly hurls yet another hallucination at you. It's a classic case of never letting your guard down in a horror game, even right after the scares have taken place. It's an impeccably timed setup for a few seconds of pure horror. Number 5. PT. I said, look behind you. Despite the travesty that this playable teaser will never be made into a fully fledged video game, perhaps it's for the best, if only for the sake of our underwear. Even in just around an hour of gameplay, PT managed to make an everlasting impression. Its expert handling of atmosphere, dread, and confusion are unmatched, with the constant fear of the unknown making every door that you walk through harder to open than the last. Throughout the game, you are plagued by Lisa, a woman with a twisted visage and tendency to stop you dead in your tracks when you see her out of the corner of your eye. However, that's all she does, sit there just out of our sight, merely encouraging you to travel in her opposite direction. That is until suddenly you hear the radio urging you to look behind you. Curiosity kills both the cat and the player in this instance, and you turn around and find yourself face to face with Lisa's beautiful features. You'll never listen to the radio ever again, or play PT for that matter. Number 4. AMNESIA: The Dark Descent. Beware the water. AMNESIA: The Dark Descent does a fantastic job at creating an unsettling atmosphere even before any kind of threats are introduced. Once the monsters do start showing up, however, the stress truly starts to build, for staring at monsters and witnessing unsettling events severely inhibits your sanity, both in-game and in reality, let's be honest. You would think, then, that a monster that you could not see would be much less scary, when in fact, it is the complete opposite. Emerging into a flooded hallway and taking up position on top of a large crate, you'll encounter the dreaded water monster. This is the Cairnic, an invisible, water-dwelling, otherworldly creature that walks through the water slowly and purposefully, detectable only by the splashes that it makes. Extremely annoying to avoid, the creature will pursue you as you jump across the boxes and not pass up a chance to snap at your ankles should you set foot in its water. That game we all used to play, The Floor is Lava, ain't got nothing on AMNESIA's flooded archives. Number 3. Alien Isolation: First Encounter. The giant, practically deserted halls of the Sevastopol space station tell the tale of its demise. And you've got a good few hours of exploring to let the tension build nicely. Just as you are starting to think that the game is scary enough, you will eventually experience your first encounter with the Xenomorph. When you finally encounter the alien up close and personal for yourself, it's exactly the experience that you've been expecting all this time. Ever since we saw it attack and kill that scientist behind the glass, we have been sitting wondering when our turn will come. Boasting an adaptive artificial intelligence with the ability to learn from its prey, the alien will track and kill us time and time again, terrifying us each and every time. There's nothing quite like looking into the jaws of death for the first time, and depending on how much this moment shocked you, maybe it was also the last time. Number 2. Condemned: Criminal Origins. MANNEQUIN Stalkers. If you've played the more recent release of Layers of Fear 2 and you thought that the twitching, teleporting mannequins in that were scary, Condemned: Criminal Origins is where the world first learned to fear the department store's lifeless dummies. While hot on the trail of the matchmaker serial killer, you will investigate Bart's department store, an abandoned building infested with tons of heavily mutated addicts in disguise as mannequins. Far scarier than the living mannequins, however, are the non-living ones. Throughout your investigation, you will become accustomed to these jacket-toting humanoid statues being dotted around the store, and you will learn to ignore them as you focus on your work, and keep your attention on the mutants posing as them. You will eventually then pass a group of the mannequins surrounding a crater in the floor, and as soon as you turn away from them, they will teleport and surround you, continually appearing behind you as you try to frantically make your way out of the room. It's another one of those moments, like we've seen in SCP, that you will favour putting down the controller and running to check that the front door is actually locked. Come to think of it, guys, better just go make sure. Number 1. OUTLAST Whistleblower. Knob Terror. Yes, you heard me. For those who managed to get through Outlast, Red Barrels released a story DLC pack for the first game called Whistleblower. Trapped in the asylum with you are several murderous inhabitants, including one Eddie Gluskin, who fancies himself as the groom to your bride. In a terrifying sequence, you will be captured and brought before Gluskin, who traps you inside a locker and forces you to stand witness, with a lovely view of the operating table as Gluskin tears his way through a few other male victims, mutilating their genitals in order to create his perfect wife. No matter your gender, you will be crossing your legs in terror watching the scene unfold before you, the whole time wondering when your turn is coming. When you black out and open your eyes to see that your character is strapped up to a giant contraption designed to feed your delicate fineries into a giant motorized saw, it's enough to make the bravest of players' stomachs turn in terror. If you manage to stick it through the scene, you'll be awash with relief when you do manage to escape. But still, the whole thing is just a little too close for comfort. Ugh. There we have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Any that we have missed, please do add them in the comments below. Appreciate you watching, guys. Take care of yourselves. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Don't Rage Quit. We have been WhatCulture Gaming, and we will see you tomorrow.